How the Saints' new offensive identity compares to Dennis Allen's time as DC. Not sure what that title means, not going to lie. It's a bit like a riddle. I feel like I'm talking to the Sphinx out in Egypt. We are here after further review, Matt Moscana. Let's get into the video so that we know exactly what he's talking about.
Allen is going to be on the NFL Network tonight. James.
Okay, so this was the interview, a little context. Dennis Allen did an interview with NFL Network, the NFL Report, whatever their show is. We already covered this. We will skip the actual interview part if he shows the interview, because if we show that, the videos could get copyright because the NFL Network, controversial situation. So just know if we do a little skipping, if you want to see the video in its entirety and my reaction to that, I have it up. I'll put it here. Yeah, I'll put it there. So go check it out. It's on the channel. Thousands of views. I mean, you know how it is, ladies and gentlemen. We're on a whole different level. The absolute brightest shooting star in New Orleans sports media.
Palmer over at NFL Network posted a video clip just a bit ago from an interview that DA did on, forgive me, I'm trying to get the name of the show.
It's okay. Take your time. NFL Report.
The NFL Report. There it is. I'm sorry. It's the NFL Report on
no worries.
On the NFL
NFL
channel.
NFL Network.
I would say the NFL Network. Anyway, tonight, 7 o'clock on, I guess it's Eastern, 6 Central on NFL Network with, looks like Sam Weish and James Palmer. Anyway, DA was a guest. They have a little clip that they just posted. And the question was, with Klint Kubiak coming in as the new offensive coordinator, does this change the way that the Saints might address the draft, and not only position, but the type of player they look for? Here's what DA said.
Okay, is he gonna? Okay, he's gonna do the interview. So he's doing the interview here. So we're gonna skip ahead.
I know this is gonna blow your mind because I'm gonna say I really like something that Dennis Allen said, but I really like that answer. So much of this obviously is going to be execution and not about rhetoric and what you say in an interview, but he's completely right in this sense. The Saints defensively had to figure out what they were going to be. You went from Greg Williams to Steve Spagnuolo for a year during Bountygate. Then you brought in Rob Ryan, and that went well until it didn't. And then you brought Dennis Allen in kind of as a consultant. He took over, and you had to decide, what were you going to be? Were you going to be 4-3? Were you going to be 3-4? Go with the Seattle? You heard him say it. And effectively, they had those meetings when he took over as defensive coordinator, and they changed the way that they refined, I guess I should say, the way they approached defense and how they draft.
Yes, so context, Dennis Allen, the question, Dennis basically said when he took over his defense, they had to figure out what kind of defense they wanted to run. They had to figure out the system. Then they had to go get the players that fit the system. Once they did that, defense started being really good, right? That's what I've been saying this whole time, is that people look at the Klint Kubiak hire and just look at Kubiak. That's not the case. Just like with going from Spags and Greg Williams and Rob Ryan to Dennis Allen, it's not the individuals. It's the idea that we are trying to create an identity, a system, a scheme for the offense to then have a directive to go get players to then be good in that scheme. That philosophy alone is so much different than what the Saints have been doing. The Saints they have no system offensively. They have no system. They have no scheme. Thus, players they bring in are just random. They're just random players. Maybe they'll fit, maybe not. Like Jamal Williams. He didn't fit at all. Why was he brought in? He was brought in because he's a running back. And the Saints were just like, well, we need a running back. But there's no system or scheme to go up against, like, what kind of running back should we have? What kind of running back do we want our backup running back to be? What complements Alvin Kamara? What complements Taysom Hill? What complements this offense? When you don't have a scheme, which we didn't, it's a domino effect negatively to everything else. What Dennis Allen said in that interview and what the front office has said with how they've managed the offensive staff, the fact that they've completely changed it, that they've completely overhauled the offensive staff, they are screaming from the mountaintops that they're trying to get better, that they're trying to get new, progressive, they're trying to evolve, they're trying to innovate, they're trying to do all of those things. This isn't about Kubiak. This is about getting a scheme and a style in here that will then allow us to draft players that fit it instead of just, take this big guy out of Eastern Illinois. Maybe we can develop him and maybe he'll be good. Like, that can't be it. That can't be the reason you draft players. And that's how we've been doing it. That's how we've been doing it is, take this lineman. He's bigger, I guess. He could probably be physical. Like, we have nothing to justify our free agent signings, our trades, our draft picks, and now we do. Now we actually do have a vision. Before, that wasn't the case. So this is a huge philosophical shift. It could be a lot of just talk. I agree with Matt that we do have to see it. And I said that in the NFL Network video reaction that we did was, this sounds awesome. I'm all in, but I got to see it. I have to see the draft picks. I have to see the signings. I have to see the roster management. And then I have to see the execution and that we actually do have a system, a style, a vision, all that stuff when it comes to calling plays. So if I see all that and it's there, I'll be over the moon.
Drafted defensive with a targeted free agency, and clearly it worked. Dennis Allen was a great defensive coordinator for New Orleans. That is inarguable.
Yep.
A big part of the reason the Saints got over the hump in those back-to-back-to-back 7 and 9 seasons was Dennis Allen, the defensive coordinator. Nobody's ever argued against that. A great defensive mind in the NFL.
Yep. We looked at the analytics at the end of last year. After the season, the regular season, Dennis Allen was the number one defensive play caller in the NFL. Number one. The number one best defensive play caller there was in the entire NFL. That's why I'm okay with him still being on the roster or still being on the coaching staff. Dennis Allen does bring a lot of good to that defense. And Matt, again, is correct. Whenever the Saints were struggling and Peyton and Breeze went 7 and 9, 4 out of 5 seasons, and we got it figured out, was because the defense got really good. And at the end there, we were more of a defensive team than an offensive team. When Breeze was older and hurt, the defense carried. The defense is why we were winning games and why we were double-digit wins. So Allen does deserve some credit. Now, does that mean he's a good head coach? No. Does that mean he'll be successful as a head coach? No. There's a good chance, and it's kind of shown throughout his entire career, there's a good chance that he can't be a head coach. He's not that logistical, man manager, player. He doesn't have that ability. And that's certainly possible. But he does have the ability to call a defense. So if Kubiak can get the offense on track, if we can bring in a good roster and start filling some holes with players that fit the system and the system works, Saints could be good. Like, we could be a team that has a good offense, good defense. Let it rip. Talented roster for sure. Does it mean it'll be a Super Bowl? Probably not. But it'll be better. And we're trying to get better. And maybe it will be a Super Bowl. Maybe it will be a team that can do it. Bad coaches or have gotten to the Super Bowl before. So, I'm certainly not going to sit here and tell you I think Dennis Allen is a great head coach. But I think the system, or not the system, I guess, but I think the situation that he's in right now is the best situation that we could possibly ask for. A situation where it's a complete overhaul offensively, where I would think he's not going to have as much responsibility with the offense. With Pete Carmichael, there was no scheme. So there was nothing there offensively. So Dennis probably was more involved than he wanted to be. With Kubiak and his whole new staff, I think Dennis might be taking a step back offensively, allowing him to focus more on the defense. And what I'm hoping for is that those two, the two sides of the ball are both good enough that coming together, Saints will have a good product.
NFL, the question has always been, can he be a successful head coach? But maybe he can try to mirror the experience he had coming in as the defensive coordinator with Klint Kubiak to say, hey, here's what we did then. Let's do the same thing with you offensively. You're my guy. I want you to be the visionary behind it. Let's talk through what we want to be, who we have that fits it, and who we need to bring in that makes sense.
That's what I think is going to happen. And I might be wrong. I never am. But I might be wrong. But I think that is how they're going to play this. I think that's how the Saints are viewing this, and that's how they're going to do it. And if they do it like that, I think it's going to be highly successful. I think it's going to be very successful, very excited for it. And I hope I'm right. I hope that Dennis and does kind of hand it over to Klint. and Klint starts to build the roster he wants and starts to input his vision and his ideas and his strategy. And that's what the Saints go with offensively. And then, like I said, that'll free up Dennis to focus more on the defense, and we'll get the best of both worlds.
I love that. I love that idea because it worked on the other side of the ball. Now, clearly, the different variable is two majorly different variables. Number one, you had Drew Brees. You don't anymore.
Yeah.
And two is you had Sean Payton, which you don't anymore.
Right.
But Payton handled offense, and he let Dennis Allen handle the defense. Maybe in this situation, where Dennis Allen will handle the defense, he can hand over the reins to Kubiak and say, go build an offense. And he's already done that with the staff. He's let Kubiak bring in guys that he has worked with in the past or guys that have been familiar with Derek Carr. At least conceptually, bare minimum, conceptually, I like what he's doing.
I think what you're hearing here is the rest of the media kind of catching up to what we've been saying for the last couple of weeks. Conceptually, this is brilliant. Conceptually, this works. And again, Sean Payton, 4 out of 5 years with Drew Brees at his absolute peak was 7-9. That is really, really bad. And the reason for that is that Sean Payton is not a defensive guy. Every time Sean Payton has had to have been involved in the defense, it's been a disaster. Disaster. So this concept has worked. This concept has worked and is proven to work where the head coach handles one side, he gets a coordinator he trusts, and that coordinator completely handles the other side. It's almost like having two head coaches, where Klint Kubiak is the head coach of the offense, Dennis Allen is the head coach of the defense. They come together, and then boom, we get a result. Sean Payton was the head coach of the offense, and Dennis Allen was the head coach of the defense back then. The difference is, I think Sean Payton is a much better roster manager, man manager, game manager, all that stuff. So I would rather it the other way. I would rather let's say Kubiak is a really good OC. I would rather Kubiak be the head coach, the true head coach, versus Dennis. So that's my only hiccup with this concept is that I'm not sure if Dennis needs to even be the head coach. Needs to be the guy who's the top authority, top dog. And so I do have hesitation with that for sure when it comes to talking about this concept and this philosophy.
Makes sense. Now, is it going to result in more wins? Is Derek Carr going to be all of a sudden a Pro Bowl caliber player? Is Dennis Allen going to be a really great, savvy leader and head coach? I have my serious doubts. You know how I feel about that.
Yeah. Same.
But the processes they're putting in place, it makes sense what they're doing.
100%. Exactly where I'm at. Do I have my doubts that Derek Carr is going to be a top 6 quarterback in the NFL, a Pro Bowler? Do I have my doubts that Dennis Allen's all of a sudden going to be a winning head coach? Do I have my doubts that all that's going to happen? Yeah, of course. But at least the system underneath it, at least all of that makes sense. At least the philosophy and the strategy and why we're doing things, at least that makes sense. And that's what I keep preaching. Kubiak might fail. Allen might fail. Carr might fail. I don't care because the reasoning underneath it is solid. The reasoning underneath it makes total sense. I'm for 1,000,000%. And I would assume if all those people fail, the next batch of people we bring in is going to be propped up by that vision, by that idea, by that philosophy. We'll go get a defensive coordinator to handle the defense. We'll go get an offensive coordinator to handle the offense. Just almost knocked my light over. We'll go get a quarterback that fits the system. We have a better vision right now than we have at any point in the last couple of years. I'm all for that. I'm all for, we talk about you can't be results driven all the time. This is another good example. The reasoning is there. Will the results be there? It's not guaranteed. But as long as the reasoning is there, I'm willing to give these guys a chance.
Like what structurally they're doing right now, and I hope it does work.
Yeah.
And you got some great opportunities here with free agency and the draft ahead to try to remake this offense.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there are spots you have to address defensively, but who are we kidding? This team is one of the worst offenses in the NFL. So go address those things, rebuild your offense the way Dennis Allen rebuilt the defense into one of the best in the NFL. Maybe you can get where you want to go.
That's why it kind of surprises me when I hear people who are just so down on the Saints and so down on this idea, and they'll say like, "Oh well, Dennis Allen's the head coach, so we can't win." It's like, guys, do you not see what's going on? Like, do you not see the changes? Do you not see how different this approach is? Do you not see, people are like, "Well, Gail Benson's got to step down. We need an owner. We need Todd Graves from Raising Cane's. He'll figure things out." The Saints are admitting their mistakes. The Saints are doing what the fans want them to do. They are wholesale changing, top to bottom, a complete offensive change. Complete. And why would they change their defense? The defense has been good. Like, why would they make wholesale defensive changes? They've done what we want them to do. They have completely stripped away all the old ideas. They've completely stripped away anything left with Sean Payton and all that. They've gone outside of the building. They've gone to arguably the best franchise currently running in the NFL. That's not the Chiefs. They've gone there. They've taken an assistant coach from the most successful tree in the NFL right now, a very young assistant coach with new ideas. Oh, you want pre-snap motion? We've heard that all season long. They go get a guy from a tree that has the most pre-snap motion in the NFL. They are apologizing for the last couple of seasons. Again, will it work? I don't know, but can't fault them for trying. I love the ideas. I love the concept. I'm all in. I'm all in on this idea. Am I all in on the Saints winning 12 games next year and going to the Super Bowl? No, but I'm all in on this new chapter of the New Orleans Saints, and that's where we're at. We're in a new chapter of the Saints. We were in that purgatory because we were holding on to the Sean Payton ideas without Sean Payton. We got rid of all that. We're starting anew. We're a new coat of paint on the house, and I'm excited for it. I'm pumped. Let me know in the comments below where you come down on this. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.